Hello everyone, today we'll be doing the French Revolution, that is Standard 9 Chapter 1 for the CPSE, and we'll begin with the most important date in the French Revolution, and that is the 40th of July 1789. Okay, what happened on this day? The city of Paris was in great alarm. People were really worried. And what was the reason they were worried for? Well, the King of France, he had sent troops to Paris. Now what are troops? Troops are groups of soldiers. And there was a rumor in the city that soon the king would order the troops to open fire upon the common people. Alright? Now why would they open fire upon the common people? We'll come to that later. So now what did the people do? The people of Paris, some 7,000 men and women, they gathered outside the town hall and they decided to form a people's militia, a people's army, okay, in order to defend themselves against the troops. Now you need some protection, so what did they start doing? They started breaking into government offices, government buildings in the search for arms and ammunition. In this manner, while this was going on, some hundreds of people, they went on to the eastern part of the city of Paris, where there was the prison of Bastille. Now Bastille was a prison fortress, okay, and they went over there in the search for arms. They went over there, they stormed inside, they broke inside the prison of Bastille, and in this process the commander was killed. Even all the prisoners, they were released. Although there were just 7 prisoners, but all the prisoners were released. And everybody took hold of whatever arms, whatever ammunition they could lay their hands on. But this was not all. What they did after getting all the arms and ammunition, they made sure to break down the walls of the prison. They broke it down. Why did they do that? Well, the prison of Bastille, the fortress prison of Bastille, it was considered, it was looked upon as a symbol of the despotic power of the King of France. So in anger, the people, they broke the whole of the prison, they put it in fragments, even so that eventually those broken pieces of the walls of the prison of Bastille, they were sold to the common people as a souvenir. Right? And what is a souvenir? Something you consider as a memento, something as a keepsake, as a memory of some event. Okay, this happened. Now, what was this event of 14 July 1789, which is known as the storming of the Bastille, was an event that eventually led to a chain of events that led to the eventual execution of the King of France. At that time, the people had not known that this would be the consequence of it. But eventually, this became one of the most important occurrences in the history of the French Revolution. Okay, over the next few days, Paris and the countryside, there was a lot of turmoil. A revolution had started. Okay, this was the beginning of the French Revolution, and I'd like to give you a recap of this. Please have a look at this. So the French Revolution, 14th of July 1789, Paris, people, some 7,000 people gathered in front of the town hall and they stormed, they broke into the prison of Bastille. The commander in this process was killed and all the prisoners were released, right? What was the prison of Bastille? It was a prison fortress, right? It was looked upon by the people as a symbol of the despotic power of the king. So this storming of the Bastille, it led to a chain of events that eventually led to the execution of the king. Moving on, what were the reasons for the revolution? Why did these things happen? Basically, people were fighting, protesting actually for the due to the increase in the price of bread. But first let us come to 1774. Now in 1774, King Louis was crowned the king. Okay, Louis the 16th from the Bourbon family. Bourbon is the name of the biscuit Bourbon, right? Yes. So he belonged to the Bourbon dynasty. King Louis XVI in 1774, he ascended the throne. He became the king of France. Okay. At that time, he was just 20 years old, and he was already married to an Austrian princess named Marie Antoinette. Now, when he ascended the throne, he found a big problem. And what was that problem? He found that the treasury was empty. Actually, they were under a huge debt. Okay. Now, this is an important part of the French Revolution, that when King Louis ascended the throne, he found the treasury to be empty. Now, what were the reasons as to why the treasury was empty? One of the reasons was that France was continually at war with various neighboring countries, with various European countries. Okay. Also, the Palace of Versailles. This was a huge, a grand, exquisite palace in France, okay, and the maintenance of this palace needed a lot of expenditure, right? Another thing was that at that time there were 13 American colonies which were under the rule of the British. Now, France was an enemy of the British. They were continually at war with Britain. Okay, so because of that, France helped those 13 American colonies to gain independence from Britain. But in that, France itself incurred a whole expense of some 1 billion livres. Okay, livre was the currency at that time in France. At that time, the currency of France was livre. So they incurred a debt of around 1 billion livre simply in order to get freedom for the 13 American colonies from Britain. Okay. Now, other than that, France was already under debt. Okay, and for that they had to meet the expenditure. They used to take loans from private money lenders. Now, these money lenders, they used to take an interest of 10% per loan. Okay. And other than these things, there are also the regular expenses that any state has to incur. Like, for example, the maintenance of an army, the maintenance of the royal court, the maintenance of government offices, and all such miscellaneous things. So, all in all, France at that time came under a debt of some 2 billion livres. Okay. Now, what did this lead to? This led to an increase in taxes, right? Where to get that expenditure from? How to pay the debts? How to pay those loans that they had taken up? So you do one thing, you do what? You increase the taxes, and that is what was done in those days. Increase in taxes led to an increase in the price of bread, and bread was the staple food of the people of France. And because of this, the people of France started protesting. This was the reason why the prison of Bastille was stormed. Okay, and here is a recap of the reasons as to why the French Revolution occurred. Louis XVI, the King of France, who ascended the throne in 1774. He was of 20 years of age when he ascended the throne. He was married to Marie Antoinette, who was an Austrian princess. Okay, and he belonged to the Bourbon dynasty. When he ascended the throne, he found the treasury to be empty. And what were the reasons? The reasons were that France was continually at war with its neighboring countries, with European countries. Also, there was a huge expenditure for the maintenance of the Palace of Versailles. Okay, other than that, France helped 13 American colonies to get independence from Britain. Also, France had to pay 10% of, France was under debt, and it had been taking money from private money lenders. These money lenders would take 10% interest on the loans. Other than that, there was the cost of maintenance of the army, of the royal court, of government offices, etc. All these things led to the decision to increase taxes. But the increase in taxes led to an automatic increase in the price of bread. Bread was the staple food of the people of France. So this led to protests by the people. So that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed and see you next time.